Some things with nerves are very productive, and some things are not so much, and sometimes it takes a frustrating long time to get started. So I wanted to show something we're experimenting with to see if this might help the getting started situation. So here's I think this is the standard way a lot of people come to nerves. They get some idea, hey, nerves is cool, let's try it out. All right, buy a Raspberry Pi, buy some batteries, hardware, put it in something. Well, that's the idea. And then they go to the docs. Here's some of the docs. The install Mac, you do some stuff. Then you do some more stuff for Erlang and Elixir. Maybe you look at the examples. After you look at a few examples, you find out about this thing called init gadget, which makes a lot of basics easier. So you get there, and then you're kind of tired, and then you kind of put off your work for the next day. So this is not good. So what we're trying to do with this thing called the QuickStart firmware, so the idea is that we make these firmware bundles, we can post them on the internet, people can download them to micro SD cards. All of you could make them too if you want to have something easy to try out for people. So I'm going to show two quick ones. This one's for our project called Elixir Circuits. So the Elixir Circuits QuickStart firmware you can find over here on this you can almost see the URL, but the idea is with the Elixir Circuits is to interface with various hardware devices. It's kind of like underneath some of the other things that people have demoed here. So you go here, you go to the releases page, find, like, if you have a Raspberry Pi, you pick, your Raspberry Pi, like RPi 3. If you have a BeagleBone, that's BBB or Pocket Beagle. There are a whole bunch. You pick one of those files, download it. A lot of people are familiar with Etcher.io for other work that they've done, so you can load it up into there, program a micro SD card. For those of you who use Nerves a bunch, you can also use FWUp. So for the Elixir Circuits ones, you put them in the SD card, plug it in your Pi, boots to IEX, and then you can play with the hardware. So once you get that in, there's like we have this LED example that you can kind of work through to try things out. You can, if you have a Raspberry Pi, put hats on, try out things with I2C, SPI, UART, GPIO. They're little tutorials over the internet, and you can just plug this in and do a quick experiment. So the other example that I wanted to show was this thing called the NervesKey. This is a crypto chip that we use on IoT devices to hide the private key. It keeps the private key secure for, like, when you connect to AWS IoT. It's that little black chip in the corner. So the problem with these things are they're one-time programmable, and they have all this jargon associated with it, and kind of the combination of those two makes you not want to program it the first couple times, because every time you do, you have to start over. That's getting a new part. So we have so Justin Schneck, he helped build this Phoenix Live View app that's bundled into a piece of firmware. You can get it on GitHub and on that repo, and you get a screen like this. So you plug it in the Pi, boot it up, point your web browser to nerveskey.local, so the Raspberry Pi is on the Ethernet, so you can just get to this. And I think a lot of this stuff probably won't mean much to most people, but this is really helpful when you're following directions for how to program the thing, especially the first time. All right, so the QuickStarts builds, this is kind of neat. Everything's automated, so when I commit to something to these, we're using Circle CI, but there's nothing particular to that. It automatically builds the firmware images, and the tagged ones get posted to the GitHub releases. So anyway, getting back to that, if you're interested in doing this with one of your projects, or you have something that you'd like people to start out quick, I think that these couple projects have some code that are good starter examples. Let's see, future Wi-Fi configurations, popular. We're going to add that into the quick starts. Discoverability is a really nice thing when you have these be able to plug these micro SD cards and hardware, put them somewhere, and be productive quickly. And then the other thing is Nerves Hub gives us a firmware update network, so it'd be really cool to plug some of this stuff in there. And that's it. Here are the links, and thanks.